Yo,
this
hey,
is cool,
Max,
man.
I see this question I want you to pop up.
Yeah.
Roland Hamilton says, can y'all maybe drop some gems on going from early struggles to then financially free? How that affects your mindset? Financial PTSD is a real thing.
I seen that question. I felt that one.
Yeah, that was deep, man. That's deep. Nas, you take that first, man. Actually, Vince, let us your thoughts on that.
Let me intro Vince real quick because people not know him, but Vince is the brains. Vince and Justin is the brains behind a lot of the things you guys see me do outside of just the actual wholesale itself. Like, you know, these guys are visionaries. They've been in the game way before me, and I was happy to link with them. Unlike Nas, I did respond to them when they hit me up. But you know, Vince is a solid cat. He has a podcast called Heart of the City. He has dope guests. He just interviewed a real dope guest, which I ain't gonna break it out the hat. But Vince is a former finance guy. Done deals, is currently doing deals, and he lives up in the New York, New Jersey area. But so Vince, yeah. So when Vince speaks, I listen because he's very wise. But so go back to that question real quick, guys. Yeah. So there you go. What's your version of your answer to that question?
I appreciate that. Thank you, brother. Seriously. You know, it's a great question. I think the thing that I take from it is I would probably, and I want everybody to chime in, I'd probably reverse the order of things, because he says, can y'all drop some gems on the, you know, going from early struggles to free, how that affects your mindset? I think what you will find is that in order to get financially free, this is something we talk about a lot, your mindset probably needs to change first, right? There will definitely be evolution once you get to that place, and your definition of free, which I'm happy to give mine, and everybody can give theirs if they like to. But I think, and I know Max talks about this a lot. I hope y'all believe it, man. Like, you really are going to have to change your mindset first.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get to a place where you think that the best of life is for you, right? Success is for you. You deserve it. You got to go out and work for it too, but you got to get that mindset thing right first. So I think the mind changes first. I guess that'd be my first comment. But in terms of what happens when you get to that place, so for me, the definition of free, I talk about free in three different terms. I talk about free, rich, and wealthy. And Max has heard this a million times. To me, free is you're not dependent on a job, right? So maybe you still have a job, but you don't depend on it. You can cover your monthly expenses from other things. Rich is you make 10 times what you need, and wealthy is you make 100 times what you need. That's my personal definition. You could take it or leave it, but it takes into account what's coming in as well as what's going out the door. Because you can make $100 million a year, but if you spend 150, it don't matter.
Don't matter.
So to me, the first thing that we should all be trying to hurry up and get to is to get free. You guys should go and listen to the very first episode of our podcast, which was Max, and the title of that episode is Get Free. And, you know, Max talks about it too. Like, he said that what happened to him, I don't want to steal his thunder, but he said when he got to that place, he was like, I can do whatever I want for whoever I care about, as long as my heart tells me it's the right thing to do. I'm not worried about if they're going to do something that I didn't intend. I'm not worried about loaning people money and they don't pay me back, right? You know, your mindset around all those things changes. You do the things that you are led to do.
Correct.
You know, anyway, I think your mind changes first to get to that place. And then once you get there, these are the kinds of changes that happen in your mind.
Yeah.
You see how he come with the whole
wisdom,
intellectual answer?
Yeah,
go ahead,
you can tell that dude smart, man.
Yeah, let's go ahead and follow with your BS, because it don't even matter what you about to say, because I'm just joking.
Y'all simple, man.
Go ahead, Nas. What you say? How do you go from the early struggles and then to financially free?
One of the things I did and I encourage people was I got heavy into self-development. So one of the things that in every self-development book you're going to read is basically, don't let your current situation determine your future. So focus on the past, you know, make peace with it, let go, focus on your future. So I just had that mindset. And like I spoke on, I want to say last week or so, with me, my motivation was, I was getting a paycheck with no comment. You know what I'm saying? So ain't none more motivating to graduate graduate from college, and then you go out to the corporate America scene and you get a paycheck with no comment and a call center. I was too ambitious to accept that. So me, I was a little bit different than others. I just no way I was going to accept that. That was not going to be I was not going to be Nasser the call center guy for the rest. No, bro. That was not my destination or what I was supposed to do in life. So that just kept me motivated to continue going, and just I never looked at myself as a poor person. When people looked at me as someone stupid and someone broke, I didn't look at myself like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about how you look at yourself is how you're gonna fit. How you feel about yourself is what you're going to achieve and accomplish in life. Because if you don't look at yourself with respect and someone with high morals and standards, what's going to happen if you do get that check is going to disappear and you're going to end back at one because you gave it all away. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, just it's all about how you feel yourself, and you got to feel about yourself, and you have to change your mindset, man.
Yeah, that's huge, man. You see that recurring answer in everybody's response to it is the mindset. CJ, what about yourself? What are some things, because you had it early on in life?
Yeah, man, I had a lot of success when I was really young, in my early 20s, and I've got to say again, mindset. I don't know if I had a broken mindset necessarily. I always had the mindset that Vince said a very key word that I thought was important. He used the word deserve. I think it's critical we all understand and develop the belief system that whatever your definition of success is, whatever that might be, you actually deserve it, right? It's not just for me. It's not for Nas, Vince, Max, or whoever else. We all equally deserve whatever we define success to be. So my mindset was in a space where I realized that the decisions that I was making, things that I were doing, a lot of it, and us as young men, we can identify with these things. I was in my early 20s. We do things to satisfy or to look good for other people, right? So I don't want to accept my struggle or where I'm at right now because I want to look good for everybody else. I don't want people to talk about me. I care what people think, right? So what I had to do is I had to get to a space internally where I didn't care about those things. I knew I was working towards a goal. I knew I was trying to accomplish something and make something happen. And in order for me to be able to do that, I had to free myself from making decisions based on what I wanted people to think, right? And so when I developed that ability in my mindset, then it really all became super simple, right? It was that I have the belief system. I know that I deserve this. Now I got to put up the work, right? So like the first part is getting that mindset piece straight and realizing that, and I hate the word struggle, like it's perfectly okay to struggle. It's perfectly okay to be at a spot right now that's not ideal or where you want it to be. People have this broken concept of time that, oh, I'm 40 years old and I got to do this right away, or this has to happen this year. Like that's all BS, man. Like if you're 40, right? Like we can logically say that you have a good another 40 years left in your entire life, right? God willing, right? So if you sit there and think about everything that you've been able to do, your failures, your successes, whatever the case might be, in the previous 40 years, now knowing what you know today, what can you do in the next 40 years? And that's in that additional amount of time, right? So it's just mindset. Once you overcome that, financially free is whatever you really want it to be. That's individual, right? Vince already hit on that. It just comes down to, let me get my mindset straight. And I think it's important. I talk about this a lot. As you grow in business, as you do well, you're going to struggle. Things are not going to go the right way. Were on a call the other day, and Vince was talking about some things post COVID, right? Like that's how business works. That's how life works. It's an up and down. It's not like once you get to a certain spot, now all of a sudden everything is good, nothing's going to be bad. But if you have your mindset straight up front, when you first get into this thing, I know a lot of people watching this are at the beginning stages. If you get that mindset straight up front, when you got to fight those battles during your successes later, now you're mentally strong enough and tough enough to deal with those things at that time.
Yeah, that's a good answer. And you see, if anybody's been to any of my events or been to somewhere where I've been a guest speaker, I actually rarely speak about actual real estate. If you come to my events, you see that myself, I speak not that much about real estate. I have a segment or two in real estate, but I speak a lot about mindset. But I bring some of the brightest and best minds in real estate so you can absorb that. But we always start the show and end the show with mindset. And I know it sounds corny and people overuse it a lot because it's a buzzword. But you have to think about this. There's roughly 18 million millionaires in America, right? And you say, okay, so everybody's definition of success usually involves an M or two, right? So let's just say, okay, you want to be one of those 18 million people. You're like, man, 18 million is a lot of people. But take the 350 million people we have in America. So if you line up 10 people, not even one person, barely one person will be a millionaire out of that entire group, right? So if you're saying that if you line up 100 people, very so few of them are going to be millionaires. So you got to be able to do what the very so few do to get where you want to get. It just is what it is. So you have to say, okay, whatever I've learned in my entire life, I want to challenge it inside my own head every single day, right? Because if everybody wants to be this, but rarely one out of 10 are this, then I need to be focusing on things that other people are not doing. I have to go out and do things and challenge myself on do the opposite. I mean, I go even minute as saying, who said the right shoe had to be on the right foot and the left shoe had to be on the left foot, right? Challenge your everyday thoughts and start doing it, because we have it to where we're supposed to have fun and play games in our 20s and, teens, 20s and 30s, and then try to hustle in our 30s to get to be where we want to be successful. Why we don't know that's a trap. So you have to start challenging every single thing that you want to do and every single thing that you have been taught. And once you start unlearning some of the bad habits you've had just from being around bad habits, you'll start to change. And you have to look at those 1% of those people and say, what are they doing that I'm not? And you start to challenge yourself every single day to do whatever your current friends are doing, do the opposite. If they go out and hang out, do the opposite. If they drink, do the opposite. No matter what they do, do the opposite. And once you unlearn a lot of the stuff and start to see, because, I tell this story a lot where I was in a cigar bar here locally, and one of the guys, I wasn't really familiar there. And the guy's like, yeah, you know what? I offered him $160,000 salary and he took the job. And they all started laughing. And I'm like, why are they laughing? Because the guy that gave the 162 didn't know his value.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm assuming that conversation went that he came and asked for more money, then he got it, then he took it, and they all started laughing. So you have to understand that, and that's crazy. 160, right? 5 years ago, I used to pray for a 6-figure job.
Man.
Now
he worked 10 times that.
That's a bad week.
Yeah.
So you really have to change everything you've learned and get around people that do things different and change the inside, because that financial independent, or what do you say, the financial PTSD is a real thing. You have no idea that you don't know.
That's real.
You have no idea that everything you know is effed up. But it's time to relearn, but it's never too late. I got an email the other day, I think from like a 70-something, 80-year-old lady, said she's ready to go. I said, let's go at it. So change your mindset. That's number one, man. Go, like he said, go against the grain. Go against the grain. That was the second.
I mean, you laid it down with that one. I mean, that's just real, bro.
That was a good question.
Because don't y'all say you see life now overall like you walk around with a different pair of contacts lenses than anybody else?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like you just see it, you just get it now, and it's hard.
Nice. Go ahead, my bad.
Go ahead.
All I was gonna say, man, is what you're saying is so critical and important, because what you're talking about, that different lens. See, what you see, the difference you see now is you have the ability to see opportunity, right?
Exactly.
So before, see, we just struggling to get day to day, right? So we waking up every single day. Even when you're making 160, you're not happy to go to work,
Right.
right? So when you change that lens, I love that analogy. When you change that lens, see, now you look at the world based on opportunity, and then now you're able to see opportunity as it's in front of you. So when Vince reached out to you that day, right, not knowing what anything could be, you saw opportunity, right?
100%. I was in DC in less than 10 days.
Literally.
It's a different lens.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
Because before that, I think, you living in the matrix.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And when you get to this place that Homeboy is talking about, it's like you take that red pill and everything starts to fall away, right? All the edifice, all the stuff that you thought was real life, that you thought was necessary, that you thought you had to go through. You had to go work for somebody for 40 years and you had to retire on 40% of what you make. Like all that stuff starts to fall away. It's a beautiful place to be.
Yo, that's so real, bro. It's so real, man. I'm 37. So guys, my account, I got fired at 29. Okay. I was talking this entrepreneurship stuff before it was like a common word. Today, it's a common word. My godson is a freshman. I got nephews as freshmen and all that, and entrepreneurship is a common word in that generation too, as well. It's common. It's not. It's yeah. So everyone knows what it is, man. But when I was getting into it, bro, people was looking at me and my twins. They were looking at me crazy. Some people understood it. A lot of them didn't. But the ones that didn't understand it, when they run into me, like on the street, because I talk to people like that, or have interaction with people like that, it might be on my social media, because in my tweets, I was wild. I was adding people I work with on social media. So with that being said, some of them have reached out. Hey, yo, bro, now I get what you was talking about, bro. I now realize that this job, I will never provide the life for my job. You know what I mean? People want the most simplest things. Like I'm blessed, all praises due. You know what I mean? Alhamdulillah, I'm blessed. I cannot deny that, because everybody on this call, right? We can look at, we can go on Instagram and say things like, yo, man, this guy, yo, so the hot tub is 30, Iceland. Like I went to Iceland a few years back. So I'm researching this joint. So wait, it's 30 degrees outside, snow outside, but the hot tub is 90? Oh no, I gotta go there. We don't have to plan it for 12 months, 14 months. It's something that I can just do. You know what I mean? Granted, the only thing that was stopping me was my schedule and time. But the most important factor of money wasn't stopping me. And now, so many people that they just want to take their wife on vacation, and they're realizing that the jobs are just not going to provide the life that they want. So once you get to this side of the things, man, it's a total blessing, man. It's a real blessing. And just stay focused, and just get your mind right. But that mind has to get right.